Okay, so here's where we're going to start with this. Welcome to our first video in the Steam primer for SketchUp. This is to help you be able to create some basic parts using 3D printing. So first thing, here's the SketchUp environment. You always want to get rid of the creepy SketchUp guy first, and there he goes. So you click, right click, we'll just undo that real quick. So if you do right click, erase, he's gone. So a few things. Our basic part, or our fundamental part in SketchUp, is the line. So if you click the line, first thing you need to do is you need to choose a location right there. So I left click on my mouse. I'm using a mouse. If you're using a trackpad, same thing, left click. You choose a location. If you want to stop having the line there and you want to move it to someplace else, you can hit escape and then move the line and then left click again. Next thing you want to do is choose a direction. So if I were to choose this direction, it doesn't look it, but that line is now parallel to that green axis. That would be the y-axis. Our x-axis is red, parallel, and then our blue axis, or our z-axis, is blue. So if you want to, let's say, do a line that is parallel to the red axis, you can see in the lower right-hand corner how as I drag that, it changes. So right now it's 22 feet, 1 and 11/16 of an inch. Let's say I just want it to be 12 foot. So I'm in a direct entry. I have not moved my mouse. I've just chosen my direction. I'm directly entering 12 foot is represented by the apostrophe. Let's say I want to do 5 inches. You do shift, quotation marks, then hit enter. So that's a 12-foot 5 line. I'm going to hit escape, no longer have a live active line, and I can verify that. We'll have a activity on this later using the measure tool, 12-foot 5, or I can put a dimension in right here. Oops. Dimension. There you go. 12-foot 5. Now, if I want to continue this, let's say I want to make a triangle, which is actually going to be one of the first things that you do, is I can just start again. And now when I click here, this is going to become an enclosed shape. This is called a face. Now, I can rotate this around using our orbit tool, which is down here. And I can look at it. It's all in one plane. Okay. Now, let's say I want to do the same thing. Right here, if I do this, that should be, oops, go back a little bit. This is the center point of the line. We actually look like we did pretty well here, that this distance from here to here, 6 foot 2 inches, and this from here to here, saying 6 foot 2. So I accidentally made this perfect. I was trying to actually make it a little bit lopsided, more like this. But the reason I'm showing you this is that that face allows us to then change the geometry of this. Next thing I want you to do, or the next thing that you're going to do, is you're going to try to make a square or a rectangle. Because remember, all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. So if we start here, actually let's just get rid of all this and go back. Boop, boop. All gone. Okay. So create a parallel line here. I want that to be 5 foot. Okay. Now I'm going to do 10 foot the other direction, but what I want you to do is see how I create that, turn that to red. I want you to make a rectangle or square, depending on what you choose to do. I'm going to do 10 foot, as I said, 10 foot. But you see how it's red? That means it's parallel to this axis. The reason that this is important is because I can make, I'm going to do this way. So you see green, parallel. If I try to make a square Also, you can see that twisted. I was perpendicular to the blue axis. So all that did was make things really wonky. So if I take my time here, see how it's green again, even though it doesn't look like it's parallel to this axis. Then I can just come back across here. Now I have perfect 90-degree corners. Next thing is that whenever you do this, you do want to check to make sure that everything turned out correctly. So I'm using the dimension tool. You can use it one of two ways. You can click an endpoint like this, and then another endpoint, 5, or you can just click, zoom in a little bit, click the whole side. Same thing. Works out pretty well. So essentially what we're going to do here, that's our basic tool set. That's us using a line. One other thing I want to talk about here, which will be more important when we talk about how to make circles and things like that. I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit. You'll learn how to make circles, and then there'll be a future tutorial on that, and then I just want you to know this little piece of information. So let's say I want to put a hole right here, circular hole. All I need to do, and the reason I'm putting this here is because this is the stage where this has to happen. So see, I have my rectangle, I've got my circle, I click on the circle, see how it highlights it differently, see how it highlights it there. Let's say I want to put a hole here. I erase that. So now I have a hole through the center of my two-dimensional shape. This will become important when I go to extrude it later. And I'll show you how to do that in more detail in the future tutorial. But that is how we would do a hole, which will be important later on. Okay, so that's about it. And that is your intro. See you in the next lesson.